All right, so let's take a look at Etruscans in the Afterlife, modern edition. So let's just recap the Etruscans and what they were about. So the Etruscans actually loved their spouses. Crazy thought, right? Well, this is because the Greek societies didn't actually love their spouses, like at all. And then the Roman society was a middle ground between the Greek and Etruscan as far as loving their spouses. And it was very interesting to see that the Etruscans incorporated women and in their art, and it showed that they valued their women and respected them and actually loved them, which was not common at this time period. And then the Greek influenced the Etruscan, and then the Etruscan will influence the Romans. So the Etruscan art style is natural, wispy, and organic, unlike the Greek, which is more architectural and structural. And the Etruscan is also very colorful and bright and happy. And the Etruscan had this idea that maybe death isn't so bad. And so we're going to discuss Etruscans in the afterlife. So here we have on the left the necropolis of Cheraviti, and each of these mounds is a burial site for a family. So each of these tombs are mounds, and each of them have bodies in them. And then they also have the option as an urn. The urn does not look like an urn. That is actually clay surrounding an actual Etruscan urn that they found. And so the Etruscans were practicing cremation at this time. And then there would be the family tombs, which you can see the picture there is very highly decorated and relief work. And everything, as the color has faded, but you can tell it was very, very brightly colored at one point. And then you can even see where the bodies were, and that then they would move them, which seems kind of disturbing to us today to think about, but it's just how they did it. It's what worked for them. And then all the way on the right, if you were of a higher and elite class, you would have a sarcophagus. So the bodies would actually be in the lower portion of the sarcophagus you see here. And so then for a modern American grave, you have your graveyard, which is where all the burial and family sites are. And then you can also, same with cremation with an urn. And then you can have a family plot, and then the headstones in the graveyard. So you have the bigger monument or the bigger structure that says your last name, stating that this is this family plot. Then each of the little headstones are all matching. There could be one or two people on each of those headstones, but they're all incorporated and part of the same family. And then if you are of a higher elite class, you would have a Molasseum, which is a structure on a grave site typically, and it's a room you walk into, and how the bodies are stored inside vary. The sizes of these vary. Typically, they have the last name pretty large outside, so you can see which family it belongs to. And then there's usually also like a list either inside or outside. It depends on who is inside and what family it is and everything. And then so the Etruscan compared to the modern, so the necropolis would be like our graveyard today. And then the urn would be the same as the urn today. And then instead of the family tomb, then it would be like the family plot in the graveyard here today. And then again, of the higher elite class, you'd be in a sarcophagus. And then today you'd have a Molasseum. So let's take a look at 3 Etruscan sarcophagi and make them modern. So this is the Tetany sarcophagus, and this is made from terracotta and alabaster. And there was research done, and they actually found traces of red, yellow, pink, blue, white, and black paint. So this would be highly painted and decorated very elaborately. And they did this study on this one and also the very last one we would be looking at. And they found each of these traces of this paint. Clearly, we cannot see it today. And so this couple actually does have some Greek features. So their hairstyles, for one, especially his like long beard, it's stylized, it's very Greek. And they're also their jewelry. So she is actually wearing pendant earrings. It's a little hard to see, but that, and then his bracelet, it would be a wire bracelet, and these are both contemporary Greek. And this shows the influence that the Greek had on the Etruscan in their artwork. And then the image on the right is relief art of Greeks fighting Amazon people. And this is one of the sarcophagus that were found in the Ponte Necropolis of Volci, as well as the last one we'll be looking at was found there. And so just note here the arm placement of the people laying down, how her arms wrapped around, how his arm, how their arms, they're in his gaze. You can tell it's a very intimate moment. And then let's make this modern. Here we have the modern recreation. And so this would be like the picture or the painting at the funeral. And then instead of the bodies being in the sarcophagus, it would be in the casket on the right. And then the casket would then go in the Molasseum, which is the picture on the top right corner. And then the paper is paperwork for the certificate of death from the CDC's form and everything that they need to know and for the documentation there. And let's take a look at this one. So the Loving Embrace sarcophagus. So this is actually made of terracotta and was fired in multiple different sections. You can see that where each different section is. And then this is an anthropod sarcophagus, like all of these are, which just means it's like human-like form of the human forms on the top. And then this one is showing the husband and the wife laying on a couch. And they're actually in the afterlife enjoying a banquet, and you can tell that they look happy, they're enjoying themselves, and they're in the afterlife. And this is kind of a weird thought, thinking that people are happy in the afterlife. And this is what the Etruscans thought. They didn't think that, maybe it's not so bad. So they showed that in their artwork, which is very different from all the other pieces that were around at that time. So then a modern recreation of this is laying down, and then the casket would go in the Molasseum, and then the death papers as well. And as you can see how we are wearing clothes, like we look nice, and the sarcophagi all seem to be in the nude and laying in bed or laying on a couch. Well, as common as they may have been in Etruscan times, that would not be appropriate for modern time pictures that would go at the funeral. So we decided to dress up, look a little nicer. All right, so now moving on to the last one. Here we have the sarcophagus of Ramapha Benassi, and this was the other one that was brightly painted and they found the traces. The last one will be painted to the specific colors that I listed were also found on this one. And then the image on the right has the relief of each of their journey to the underworld. So the husband is on the right to the left, going to the center, or the left going to the right to the center, and then the wife is on the right going to the center, and in the very, very center, you have the couple, and this is them reuniting in the afterlife, and her hand is on his left shoulder, and his right hand is grasping her right hand. This is the motif of Dextratrum enunciatio, and this is used in like Roman marriage and ceremonies and other public rituals. And then if you take a note at the people laying down, you can see how their arms are wrapped around each other, her arms across him in the front. So then a modern version of this would be here with her arm around the front, his arm around her, and then again with the casket and Molasseum, and then the death papers showing our journey to how we died. And then that's that. All right. And then in conclusion, we wrap it up. And so the Etruscans, compared to the modern, so the necropolis would be equivalent to the graveyard. The urn would be equivalent to the urn. The family tomb to the family plot. The sarcophagus to the Molasseum. And so then the final thoughts would be four main components: imagery of the couple, afterlife, journey, and their death, where the bodies are, and then also to keep in mind that status is shown in each type of burial. So for the Etruscan sarcophagus, that would be equivalent to an image or painting of a couple, a death certificate, the casket, and the Molasseum for their burial. Thank you.